nothing about the movie, so it's kind of basically a fresh look when reading the book. Hello, hello. My name is Brandon Wheeler. Welcome to my channel. I'm an indie author. My name's Brandon Wheeler. Like I introduced myself. Got a straw in my mouth because heat thing happened when I was in the army. Can't talk right unless I bite down on something. Sounds like this, that, just stumbly and stuff. Moving on, just to keep things clear. All right, moving on. Answers question. This book review is about Prince Caspian. I'm reading it as part of my continued thing of reading through all this. This is the complete collection of the Chronicles of Narnia. And I've never read through the entire thing before. I've only read, of course, the Chronicles of Narnia, which, to be fair, everyone's pretty much read Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe, but they have not read the other books, so that's why this. I got it for Christmas, and I was like, I'm going to read the rest. Speaking of Christmas, I have a Christmas book. It's available on Amazon. I'll link to it if you want to read it. Chris Chringle, Chris Santa Detective, if you want to read it. But anyway, uh, Prince Caspian. Bas- it, what I remember of the movie and stuff, yeah, you have the family, the kids going back to the world and everything. It's like hundreds, if maybe even not thousands of years later. Yeah, the Timurians. I don't know how to say it or whatever, but they are basically the new humans of the world and they're taking over. Now, I remember off correctly, the movie starts off. I'm talking about the Disney movie. I don't know about the original BBC thing. The Disney movie starts off with Caspian's already, of course, they age him up as a teenager, and that's when it's like, oh, he has had a son, and Caspian has to flee because he's going to get killed and everything by the uncle and everything like that. But the book kind of starts off with the kids and everything. They get to the world, they rescue the dwarf, and then the dwarf tells them of everything of this that's happened because they meet Caspian and everything. Like he tells them of how Caspian kind of grew up because Caspian's about their age, still like 13, 14, because they're all younger than how in the movies they kind of get aged up and everything. But they talk with each other and everything, and Caspian, you know, how he escapes, how all the Narnians were basically destroyed by the Temerians, and everything, but there were still those that are left, like the dwarves, centaurs, the dryads and naiads still hiding as trees, not really being awakened or anything like that. Lucy can still see them kind of awakening and like they want to, but they don't and everything. And there's rumors of Aslan's return. Caspian's told all this from his like nursemaid growing up, and then as his uh, master teacher and everything, who's like actually a half dwarf that's just hidden and everything because they don't do that. The Tamarinians are very scared of everything that goes on because they're past. I think in the movie at the end he mentions like you were pirates on an island or something like that, but it's basically yeah they were on an island. The original people were on an island, and then they found the portal to Narnia, and so they travel through it. But they're very scared of like the water. They don't want to go near the water. They're very superstitious with everything like that, especially the Narnians, and they're just distrustworthy and everything. It's like okay, interesting. I think I vaguely remember in the movie the bad dwarf, like one of the dwarves was like bad and he was trying to summon again the White Witch. And that happens kind of in the book. He's saying, like, she might have been cruel to all of you, but she wasn't cruel to our people, at least not cruel enough. We were highly favored and everything when it came to her. We were, living well and stuff like that. And that's his plan because there's like, we don't even know if Aslan exists. It could have been, he actually was killed by her and no one really tries to say everything, like, oh, he's alive still and stuff like that. Because again, hundreds of years later, they don't necessarily believe in Aslan and everything, and all the rest of the animal ones are like, no, the Pacific one, he's like, no, I know Aslan existed. We know it like in our bones he existed and everything, and all these things happen. He's like, yeah, well, it's not helping us now either, but there is a way to bring back the White Witch. And Caspian was like, nah, I don't know about that, and they kind of attack him and stuff, and yeah, get rescued, things like that. But if you've seen the movie, then you know kind of how it plays out. There is that fight towards the end, and I was that part I do remember because the fight was cool. I will say the Temerian armor like they had in the movie looked cool, and in the book and everything, at least there's one image to kind of make it look more English, I suppose it's Spanish or so. But they looked. It was an interesting kind of battle and everything, and yeah, Peter definitely held his own, and it's a lot more. I don't know, a lot more interesting in the book as far as how they portrayed the fight and everything like that. But uh, I think it, yeah, it progresses kind of as like Peter hurts his shoulder because even though he's back and he has all his memories as like being king and stuff and he has his abilities back and everything, he's still in the body of like a 13, 14-year old going against a man who's still very strong. So that's where, yeah, that disparity is happening. So Edmund is, I know, I will say, is not like the movie. I do remember that. He's not like, oh, I'm still very like, and all that. No, Edmund's not like that. He's much more welcoming, much more humbler and everything. Even when he returns to Narnia, he's a lot better thing. He still does lose his flashlight torch, but flashlight in America. Uh, I do remember this in the movie. In the movie, they kind of make a romantic interest between Susan and Caspian, and they even have him kiss or something at the end and all that. Of course, they age him up. But again, in this book, Susan and Lucy were not at the battle. They weren't at the champion fight or anything like that, or even the big fight and everything. They were riding with Aslan once he returned, because for a while, none of them could see Aslan except Lucy. Lucy could see Aslan, then Edmund, then Peter and Susan last. And of course, the dwarf couldn't see Aslan until Aslan had him in his mouth, which is kind of a funny moment. And it's interesting how Aslan's just kind of going through, having them walk through the area, and they're just kind of having all the people join them and walking and stuff. I was like, okay, that wasn't in the movie. The movie they brought out like the water dryad thing, which is kind of implicated in the book of like what people were there, but the water spirits and everything, like they're waking back up with Aslan's return. But in the movie, they kind of make it like a fight thing, which is like, all right, that's fine. Although in the movie as well, they had one advisor to the uncle, but I think in the book it was two of them, and yeah, they kind of do the same thing about like stabbing him in the back with an arrow because they were upset that he was calling them cowards and everything. But even though they were kind of baiting him to try to go into that fight, it was like, well, if he gets killed, it wouldn't be too bad. And he needs to remember that we put him in his place and stuff. But it's that they're still like that. As far as the book and everything like that, Caspian, it's interesting with how it all went. I did like Caspian's attitude. Like, I used to hear all these stories from my nursemaid and my teacher now about all the Narnians and everything. It's great to see that it's alive and real. I'm excited to see it. Whereas the rest of his uh, Tamarinians, Caspian people were like, no, that's scary. They scare us. Talking bears and everything. Oh no, lions, tigers, and bears. They talk. Oh my. uh, as far as how I'd rank it, of course, uh, I, Narnia, Horse and His Boy are the two top for sure. Uh, I probably put Caspian below that, and then you have like Magician's Nephew, as far as what I read. One thing though, Reapy Cheap. I do remember him in the movie, and I do remember. I remember him in Voyage Dog Turner movie, but in the book he's there and stuff, and he's interesting. Reapy Cheap is awesome, and it's just kind of interesting of like he fits exactly. I have in my fantasy books. If you read it, if you want to read it, it's available online on Amazon. A Tale from Xetas. Second book, I introduced Colleen, and he's one of the Mouse Knights and everything like that. If you read it just at face value, and you look at Reapy Cheap, he's like, oh, he's just like Reapy Cheap in some ways. He's very much inspired by Reapy Cheap or something. No, he's not. When I came up with this whole, if you it's going to come out in the future and everything like that, different things, stuff that does deal with the Mouse Knights and everything. But with Colleen and everything, it had nothing to do with Reapy Cheap. Or I wasn't even thinking of that character from the Narnian stuff at all when I came up with Colleen or the Mouse Knights or anything like that. I was thinking of Tom and Jerry and all these different mouse things that I from books and stuff that I knew as a kid and everything. I had nothing to do with Reapy Cheap and stuff because, yeah, even though I saw the movies years ago, it wasn't really the inspiration behind who he was and how I made him and stuff. It's just interesting of like, that's an interesting parallel. But ironically, coincidence, as much as I like Narnia and say I pull from Narnia as inspiration and everything, that is complete coincidence because I had not thought of Reapy Cheap at all when I was making that character. It's just kind of interesting. It's like, oh, that's interesting. I just like stuff with mice. Mice, for some reason, make an easy thing to use as fighting and wars and stuff. But blame Tom and Jerry. That's the reason why. As far as the book, it's all right and everything. It's interesting. I do like aspects of it. It's just, probably one of the longer ones and stuff too. But and it wasn't as grabbing to me as like Horse and His Boy and some stuff. But that's okay. Now, next one is Voyage of the Dawn Treader, so I'll be reading that next. I actually finished this a couple weeks ago, but I've just been focused on trying to finish my Roman history book. I'm almost done, so you'll see that video soon. So I just wanted to make this beforehand. All right. Have you read Prince Caspian? Is it your favorite out of the Narnia series? Is it not? Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.